And I bet you already have a drill. Heck, you might even have 3 or 4. I think I'm up to 5 or 6, some of which don't work at home. Maybe yours has a cord, maybe it doesn't. If I had to choose just one drill, it would probably be a cordless drill because those typically have more useful features. Clutches in different speed ranges for driving screws versus drilling holes, and not to mention they're just more convenient when you have to take them around your house. Until, of course, the battery runs down and you've forgotten to charge your backup. Not that that's ever happened to me. Many corded drills are lacking in those types of features, but if I had to mix up plaster to repair a wall or mix up some paint, I'm going to head straight for my corded tool to run that mixing paddle, because even the best cordless drill can't stand up to that kind of abuse. So even if you don't think you need a corded drill, it's a good idea to keep one around just for those times when you need it. But beyond the cord or not, there are some features to keep in mind. You want one that is lightweight, well-balanced, holds the bits you need, from tiny little wire bits up to 3/8 or even 1/2-inch shanks. For a cordless drill, you're probably going to look for a 9.6 volt, a 12 volt, or a 14.4 volt. But drills are getting smaller and lighter, and it's actually the battery that adds a lot of the weight and tips the balance back and forth. So even in this 18 volt bit with the newer battery technology, it's a little bit lighter weight than an 18 volt would have been years ago, even 5 years ago, and it's better balanced. A couple years back, I wouldn't have picked up an 18 volt because my hands are small and my wrists are weak, so I would have gone for a 14.4 or a 12. Now I can work anywhere in that range, really. The bottom line on voltage is that 14.4 is plenty powerful enough for furniture work, and frankly, so is a 12 volt probably. Then you want to look at variable speed. The more you pull the trigger, the faster the drill spins, and it should ramp up smoothly. Like so. Another thing you want to look for is jaws that close down tight. In the very best drills, all 3 jaws will close up tight to one another and look like one piece of metal. Poor ones will have a big gap, and you won't be able to close down on small bits. You don't typically need a wire bit, but when you do need it and your drill won't hold it, you're going to be frustrated. You can see that I have a little gap there. Is that going to hold my smallest bit? I think it does. And that's got a pretty good grip on it. There's one other kind of drill you're going to encounter, and that is one with a hex bit on it here. These are really useful for when you're, it's actually not a drill, it's a driver, for when you just have to drive a few screws, because you can pop your screw heads in and out really easily, as opposed to having to open up your jaw and close back down on it on a drill like this. But of course, those clever engineers at the tool companies have a way around that. You can get an insert bit here that turns any drill with a jaw on it into a holder for a hex shank bit, and then you can just do speed changes using that. So that's a useful thing to have around. Preferably you'll have one with a magnetic tip so that it picks up your bits for you. Okay, so let's look at clutch and speed settings. The low is for driving screws because you don't want to over torque it and strip out your screw head. The high is for boring holes when you have to, push through a concrete wall or what have you. The clutch in most drills, this part up here, is kind of overkill, I think. It has too many settings that you probably don't need. And this one goes up to 17 in the numbers, and technically it goes up to 18. What the clutch does is when you reach a certain amount of torque, it's going to disengage the motor from the chuck and stop the spinning motion. Now that is useful because at the right setting, it'll keep you from stripping out a screw head or snapping a screw, or from driving too deep into, say, softwoods or drywall. So how do you use the clutch? Well, for me, that's kind of trial and error. If I have to drive a lot of screws, I'll set the clutch really low, which is down at 1. I probably wouldn't go down that far. I'd probably start at 3 or so, depending on the wood I'm using. If it's a softwood, I'll go down to 3. If it's a hardwood, I might go up to 5 and try that out. I'll drive my first screw. And typically that one's not going to seat fully. It's not going to go flush with the surface where I want it. That's good because I don't want to push it down too far. That's a bigger problem. To drive it farther, I can just turn my clutch setting up a little bit and try again. Once I have the right setting, then I can drive all the rest of my screws. And actually, most drill drivers these days have a special setting that has the picture of a drill bit on it, and that tells you that's what you want to put it on for drilling.